and welcome to Not in ShawScope, the show where we talk about films that are thematically related to the movies we just talked about in ShawScope, our sister or brother podcast to this one. I am Nicholas O'Shenanigans, and they are...
It's Clive Davis.
Darren Jones.
All right, and so this time we're talking about the film's Chinese Torture Chamber Story 1, directed in 1994 by Bosco Lam. We're also talking Chinese Torture Chamber Story 2, directed in 1998 by Kim Nam Cho. And we're talking Warlords from 2007, directed by Peter Chan.
Shit, he dropped the ball there, Darren. It's the Warlords. But, you know, he got through the number 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. There's a 2 in 2007. So, you know, he got there. He got there more than once.
Right.
All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering how these films are related to the films we talked about in ShawScope, Chinese Torture Chamber Story 1 is the answer to the question Wang Jing had about... I'm guessing he sat down with his friends and was like, have you seen The Adulteress, that incredibly serious and important film about corruption in Qing Dynasty courts? What if we added a lot of fire hose, sperm, and blood, like out of a Gwar concert, a lot of titty jokes, and tonal whiplash all over the place?
Or tonal, even.
Or tonal, yeah.
Quite like the sound of that.
In its original French, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm convinced what actually happened is he stayed up late at night once because he saw The Adulteress in, like, you know, whatever, Chinese TV guide he had, and was like, oh, fuck yeah. He's 15 years old. I'm gonna knock one out to this. And by about the end of hour 1 was like, this is not what I hoped it would be. So tucked it away and was like, I will make the film that I had intended to masturbate to tonight.
To be fair as well, there are many reasons, some of which we've already talked about on our various shows. There are very many reasons to dislike Wang Jing intensely. But this is one of the reasons to appreciate the man, I think.
I agree. I agree. Yes.
It's like somebody watching To Kill a Mockingbird and being like, oh, this is a serious courtroom drama set in the South dealing with racial injustice. I think what this needs...
Yeah, Gregory Peck have a massive hard-on that explodes in the middle of the court.
Yeah.
just pissing on rats.
Yeah, and to also just fuck someone with boing, 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 boing noises.
Yes, zap noises, yes.
Yeah.
So we should actually... I think we should make a slightly bigger deal of this, just because this feels to me as if this is our discovery, right? Because I've never read this anywhere. It might have come up in Chinese language, but in terms of English language reviews, I have never, not once, have I seen anyone say that there's any connection between a Chinese story and The Adulteress.
No,
it's insane. Because when you watch them back to back, they are the same film.
Well, had you both seen the Chinese Torture Chamber Story before?
I have.
I've seen the chunk of it that did the meme rounds back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Right. So it's lucky that we had then, in a way, because like we said, no one would have mentioned it. But as soon as I started watching Adulteress, I wasn't 100% sure because it'd been a while, but I'm pretty sure this is Chinese Torture Chamber Story. And we went on a bit of a wing and a prayer to set it up. So we watched Adulteress with Blood Brothers, because it turns out that, Adulteress is Chinese Torture Chamber Story, and Blood Brothers was remade as Torture Chamber Story.
Absolutely.
2, right?
The same film, yeah.
But to be fair, I'd read that before. I mean, I'd seen Blood Brothers so long ago that I couldn't remember that. I'd seen a few people say it, so I kind of believed that. But this Adulteress Chinese Torture Chamber Story connection, I wasn't 100% sure about. So I'm quite pleased that we're right.
An absolutely great find, Clive. But I think the thing is that had we already had that information back in the day, or even 2 years ago, because we weren't on this project, we would have just glossed over. This is a remake of the very serious 1962 Adulteress,
right?
And you would have just disregarded it instead of having been quite interested in it, like we are today. Yeah.
No. So
anyway,
so what happens in a Chinese torture chamber story then, Nick? Go on.
Well, I mean, I could just refer you to our episode of, in ShawScope, where we talked about the Adulteress, and just cut out anything that's subtle and replace it with outrageous fuck scenes, and yeah.
And it's in color. And it's in color, right?
They were both in color.
They're in color.
Yeah.
No, the Adulteress is in color.
Yeah, very much is, Clive. I don't know what version you watched.
Fuck, I'm totally remembering the Adulteress in black and white.
No,
You're not thinking of the other one, are you? The one on the mountaintop, where she goes in a hut and dies on a mountaintop. What's that one called?
I think that's called She Went in a Hut and Died on a Mountaintop, the movie.
That's the one. That's the one. Just in case you were confused.
No. I know that. I know that film out, as we all do. Anyway, doesn't matter. For some reason,
it is roughly speaking the same story, right? So we open with.
It's pretty faithful, actually. Apart from
surprisingly, other than
the Wuxia couple.
Yeah.
Yes. Otherwise, it's all.
I was trying to figure out actually. So other than the main extra bit with Elvis Choi and Julie Lee, as some wuxia lovers flying through trees and fuckers. Yeah. And I was trying to figure out, like, so this is 94, right? So obviously it's wuxia tropes, but I was wondering, what in particular is this riffing on that was a new film? Because this is what Wong Jing did, right? Was it the Swordsman films, maybe? Or I was wondering what, because there must have been something specific for him to decide.
What, specific to the wuxia stuff?
Yeah.
The wuxia couple. Yeah, Swordsman was big in, well, it's kind of 93, wasn't it? Swordsman 2, I think, is 93, isn't it? Yeah. Once Upon a Time in China's kicking about. Bride with White Hair. When's Bride with White Hair? 88 or something.
I was wondering because I would yes, if you were to make a very close comparison, it's probably specifically something, isn't it? But but still a massively enjoyable little addition. If there wasn't enough other crazy shit going on, you've got these great scenes of Elvis Choi and Julie Lee just flying fucking. It's massively entertaining. And that's, I think that's, you were speaking earlier about the meme, that's that. Yeah, that's what you're
Yes, that's the scene that I had seen before, like way back in the nascent days of the internet. That thing was all over the place. But yeah, so basically the movie opens with a pre-credit sequence of various outrageous tortures, including a dude's massive cock and balls being chopped off and dropped into a bowl. Another guy having his head split open and then
hang on.
And it was on skin.
Stop. I need to stop you. So the dude that gets his elephantine, but also looks a little bit like some sort of green sausage and faggot combo. After he gets it lopped off, they put a little white feather in the hole.
Yes, they do.
That's actually my favourite bit of the film.
Well, it's also worth mentioning in this scene. So the scene where they bury someone up to their neck, slit the top of the head open, and pour something in that makes them literally jump out of their skin, is of course taken from another film. Taken from the film, not the footage, I mean, but that exact thing happens in the 1984 film Jungle Heat.
Oh, okay.
And it's even more kind of outrageous. For some reason I had assumed both of you had seen Jungle Heat and we talked.
No, I haven't
No.
seen Jungle Heat.
Sounds good.
Jungle
Yeah.
Heat is we might try and shoehorn it into not in in ShawScope. It's it's like a Taiwan and it stars Flash Gordon himself, Sam Jones.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
Yeah,
Because I don't know about this film at
No.
all.
Sorry, I honestly had thought this
No.
was... Yeah, okay. All right, we'll...
I have never heard of Jungle Heat. We're watching it.
Yeah.
Right. Make a note.
So after this, we then cut to our female protagonist. Am I right in thinking her name is Little Cabbage?
Little Cabbage.
Yes, yeah. And
Cabbage.
are they saying bok choy or some version of bok choy in Chinese when they're saying her name? Because it sounded like that's what her name was. And anyway, so Little Cabbage is discovered. Her husband's cock has exploded, showering her in blood.
No, hang on. You don't know. You know, she's
okay.
she's just covered in blood with a dead
Oh,
husband.
right.
Yes,
At
yeah.
that point.
Sneezing in the Little Cabbage.
Right.
Played by
And
Miss Asia 1989. Yvonne Hung, no, Young Hung, right?
Young Hung, yeah.
Who is a brilliant bit of casting because she's fantastically vulnerable looking throughout.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, so she then gets basically dragged to court, accused of having murdered her husband, much like in The Adulteress, and more or less in the same way that he's been poisoned by, in this case, an aphrodisiac, which has causes.
Is the apothecary on trial alongside her, right?
Apothecary.
What did I say?
Apothecary.
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 Yes. So she's on trial, and then she's accused of having had an adulterous relationship with Lawrence. How do you say NG as a last name?
Ng.
Ng.
And he plays the apothecary, by the way.
Oh,
yes.
interesting.
Yes, he does. Yeah, he's the scholar in this version. And,
I'd have just called him a chemist.
Well, you're not as well educated as me, see?
I'm not, and I could never hope to have pronounced that word.
No.
So it plays out, as I said, fairly similarly. She's on trial. She's getting tortured. She kind of tells we get the backstory of how they came to be in this situation. So, it's a little bit different. Some of the details are not quite the same, but basically, she's from a poor family. She gets more or less sold to be a servant in a wealthier family. She kind of falls for. I mean, the scholar is definitely a bit more horny, and he's already married in this version. And
He is the inventor of sex armor.
Yes. He has a variety of devices.
And there's also
I like that one. They have to go like that. Ooh.
And there's also the characters running around behind the scenes, like trying to bring justice because the real perpetrator is the son of the judge, and all that. The framework is pretty much the same.
The same, as in the Adulteress.
And Nanny's tits is also a good subplot to this.
That's a new one. Yep.
Yeah.
Nanny getting her boob job.
Yeah.
Kingdom doing her famous spoofing her big chest, which is basically what she did throughout her entire career, as far as I can tell. That's very much Kingdom Yun doing the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Right. So like you said, it is Adulteress, but it's kind of via Sex and Zen, Mark of the Devil, and like Shogun's Joy of Torture or something like that.
Yep.
It's kind of gone that circuitous route. Oh, and of course, not to forget Ghost. Because
I forgot about that bit.
The use of that musical cue twice in the film is astonishing both times.
I mean, I've got to give it to him. I have to give it to him. That was actually hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, and not just the song, but the song reinterpreted on like period appropriate Chinese
But
instruments.
it's also an analogy reinterpreted into another analogy that turns into what it's actually analogizing, which is wanking. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I thought that was an act of genius.
Yeah, just like a stuck clock is right twice a day. Wong Jing sometimes.
I know.
The stew works, right? The stew works.
But also you got to put it in context as well. So I mean, I remember vaguely 1994, or maybe it was 92, whenever the fuck Ghost came out.
91, I think.
Oh, okay. That film annoyed the fuck out of me, and it was everywhere.
Yep.
For years after.
Yeah.
And this is the only funny parody of Ghost I have ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, was there one in Hot Shots, maybe, or Hot Shots?
I think it was Naked Gun, possibly.
Oh, yes, you're quite right. It was Naked Gun.
Yeah.
Yes. But I'm sure it was in a million fucking spoof.
Yeah. Oh, it was in everything. And if you turned Harry Enfield on, or fucking whatever the hell was kicking it, whatever hell, fucking Bradley Walsh was doing something on the fucking National Lottery show, spoofing Ghost. Sorry, I'm going on a fucking rant now, aren't I?
Yes, the film.
Sorry, it's all right.
You're still angry. Yes,
I am.
angry.
I am.
If we get to
Nick's still angry about Forrest Gump. So
I was about to say that exact thing, Clive. I said, thank God there was no reference to Forrest Gump, otherwise it would be me venting my spleen for about 20 minutes.
Although I would quite have fancied any one of those nice ladies with the nice boobies in the Chinese torture chamber story being spliced into old Quan Tak Hing, Wong Fei Hung films, just showing tits to Shekin or Quan Tak Hing. Would have quite liked that.
So there's a number
just me then.
There's a number of outrageous set pieces. Which
So I mean, one thing that's important to mention. So basically she ends up, Little Cabbage ends up seeing the wife of the scholar engaged, in adulterous behavior with, again, the magistrate's son, more or less exactly as it was in the original film. But then she gets basically forced then to marry this well-meaning, slightly dim but massively cocked, bumpkin. And then who's he's well cast. He does it really. I think he does a really good job, a creditable job of being kind of like lovable, but also kind of like
yeah, kind of, because he's kind of, although it's a different strand, it's Chumu, right?
Yes, it is very much.
So he is actually Chumu, isn't he?
Yeah.
Wanted to put that out there because we just watched that for another segment, but yeah.
Also worth mentioning as well, I mean, just before it gets, because it gets gory quite quickly, so it's that kind of mix of sex, and so it's kind of just a more outrage. But before it quite goes there, just the first scene of Little Cabbage lying down, getting her ass paddled. Man, was that sexy as fuck. That scene was just because it hasn't gone too far yet, right? That's Jesus. Nick's making weird faces. I don't know if it means he's in agreement or not.
Nick refuses to answer this question on the grounds that it might incriminate him.
I understand. Yeah, no, I understand. We can wait for it to go down if you want before we continue.
It's lifted the table here.
I thought the camera angle had changed.
The thing is, though, I mean, one thing I would say, I'm being a bit cruel here, but I do feel that both of these two films, 1 and 2, the actresses are not particularly talented. They're not particularly attractive to me, anyway. I'm sure they're attractive to other people, but they kind of seem like kind of B-grade actors in this. But but yeah, still chosen on the strength of
I
a
might agree with
bum.
you. I might agree
I'm
with you on the
Yeah.
second film, but I don't know if I agree with you on the first
Yes,
film.
I'm
I might be
with
with,
this one as
I
well.
might be with Clive on this one, that I found Little Cabbage to be quite cute.
See, I'm teasing it out of him, Clive.
Whereas
well done. Yes.
Lotus was interesting and cool and all, but I was less invested.
It's the vulnerability as well, isn't it? That's the thing. That's the key. Is
she's sweet and she wants to do good. She wants to help out. She wants to lend a helping hand when she can.
Yeah, she's asking. It's her own fault. It's her own fault.
I saw the way this conversation was going, and I just remained silent.
Yeah, that was wise. That was wise.
I saw it. I smelled it come in.
But no, I think it's worth bringing up rather than not just to go, although that's valid in itself. But it's interesting because it does manage to do a lot of what I mean is before it's a sign that before it goes just outrageously gory, that it can actually do that, which is actually quite a thin line to walk, I think. That kind of nasty but kind of goddamn it still kind of sexy thing is more difficult to do, I think, than people give it.
And actually Little Cabbage preserves her dignity throughout the film.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
so and that I think is the nature of the thin line, is that there's actually some decent character stuff going on in here.
But then I think that's where we get the tonal whiplash. So much more so in this because you get
what you mean to say, Nick, is the tonal whiplash, I think.
Oh yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
No, it's whiplash.
You get scenes that are just outrageously silly or sexually extreme or
he admitted it. He almost admitted it.
But then you get like scenes that are genuinely affecting or disturbing, like the scene where the scholar is forced to crawl on his knees across all the broken crockery, and you're like, fuck. Or when she's having her fingernails poked, or pulled out, and you're like, this is
that's not sexy. That's just horrible. Yeah,
it's just awful. And it's weird. Like it just kind of goes like, and then yet you can be back to a nanny's exploding titty joke in the next scene, and you're like, what am I to do with?
It's because you're into Little Cabbage, right? So the filmmakers have managed to get you into Little Cabbage, right? I would like. Wouldn't it be good? Wouldn't it be good? Is if before you put the title slider, you just put this. The filmmakers have made you get into Little Cabbage.
Right. Or just enter the cabbage.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say, I did want to draw our attention to, there's a scene that is similar to, but quite different from The Adulteress, so in The Adulteress, the scumbag son of the local magistrate drugs our female lead and basically has his way with her. In this case, he goes to a magic apothecary and gets an invisibility potion / whatever the hell it is, turns himself completely invisible and does the Invisible Man sketchy routine of coming in, and then we get the completely outrageous scene of him mouth fucking our Chumu character, which is like,
I love these horny Invisible Man.
Yeah, and that's and that bit amongst some of the bits in the film, that's a little bit nasty, actually, isn't it? Because what precedes the hilarious Chumu puts his mouth, selflessly puts his mouth where his wife's fanny's meant to be, and takes the cock and the cum, and the cum which he spits out, is actually because that's a really fucking rapey scene.
Oh yeah.
And up until that point, it's not actually funny, is it?
No. And then suddenly again, we get this like fucking whiplash.
But you mentioned that whiplash, but what I mean is, I know exactly what you mean, right? But what's interesting about in this film, I think, oddly enough, from the start, because it's so outrageous straight at the gate. Oddly enough, even though you're quite right, it is that tonal whiplash. It's actually of a piece. Like, I never actually felt thrown around that much, because it's all, you get acclimatized to it pretty
To
quick.
the bonkers.
Yeah, so it works. It works
Yeah.
more than some other films that the whiplash effect is stronger and actually are enjoyable because of that.
Right.
It's slightly different because it's like, it's enjoyable because it's like it all feels like a finely tuned little decadent kind of piece of trashy art, like because everything's really good in it, and lighting and the costume design, and everything's just perfect, really. They don't step a foot wrong in terms of production values, right?
Yeah, and there's a fucking wuxia scene that could have been directed by Ching Su Dong.
Yeah, it's great. Everything's
It works a treat. Yeah,
I would love to know at the end of all of this if we have talked longer about this than The Adulteress. So I'd like if Clive can pull up the
I think because I'm not anywhere near done on this one either.
We're gonna have to be, because we're gonna have to wrap up.
All right, okay.
Yeah. If I could skip forward to the end for a moment too. I mean, it does in some ways have the same ending. We don't get the sweet scene of the scholar's son being taken to see him in jail now that he's crippled, and he sings the same song, and so that's missing. But we do basically get the same ending where thanks to the sister, right? So his sister intervenes on his behalf, tries to get him a new trial, has to roll around naked on top of a bed of nails.
That's a great scene too.
That was okay. Yeah, that was fine.
For some reason.
She had to prove that she wanted it.
Yes, yeah, but I did like how the jury of old men who were going to decide this did a lot of squeezing their armrests and heavy breathing while the trial was going on.
I'm surprised they didn't make her do it again, actually.
So
back the other way.
If we were the judges, we would have.
So then, so basically, they do actually end up, dragging the real culprits up, and we get our sleazy magistrate son and, the scholar's slutty wife, on trial, and they get tortured with different tortures, actually. She gets her boobs squished, right? And he gets hung up by his neck or whatever. But then when they're executed, we get the wooden horse Lady Godiva scene. Right.
Yes. I did bonus bit of
filth,
humiliation at the end. Yeah. No, it was good. It was nice. It was just a little bit of icing on the cake. It was just. Here's a bit more.
So Darren, it sounded like you had quite a bit more to say. So maybe we should give you the floor for a few minutes.
No. I've not got too much more to say.
I think it's just we're all just obviously really enjoyed it, right? So we're just kind of exuberant.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it, and what it reminded me of, right? And this is going to be a little bit of an oblique reference, right? And this is one to do on some of the podcasts, because I'm not sure it fits in with the Hafuz, and it definitely doesn't fit in with Shaw or not in Shaw, but it reminded me a little bit of the bananasness of a good Chu Yen Ping film.
Ah, right.
So like a Fantasy Mission Force, or any number of other films he's done. But it's just that throw everything at the wall, see if it sticks.
Yeah, but
actually, you brought up Zaz earlier on.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Like a rather than jokes, like nudity and violence. Zaz.
Yeah. So it's basically So it's essentially a tits torture comedy. Tits torture comedy.
Yeah.
Wuxia,
sometimes just tits torture.
Yeah, and sometimes just tits torture. And by luck or judgment, by luck or judgment, it worked. Yeah. Because her boob job is basically like heated up bowls put on but she
Yep.
wants the massive ones that are bigger than
Well,
her chest.
Also, they did a really good job of. I'm not quite sure how they did that. How did they go about looking Kingdom? How did they go about making Kingdom Yen look flat-chested before she gets it?
I know, right?
That was quite
Tying
well.
them
But to be
down.
fair,
I think tying them down.
there's something up with her clothes, though. Her clothes are like really
But
wide.
still, I mean, I went with it. I went with this.
Yeah. I got there. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I should mention, right? Because we're all blokes talking here, right? You know, this has been a bit of a blokey conversation, right?
Mhm.
I watched
I
this with
blame Nick
Geraldine.
for that.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, what? Darren, you watched this with your wife?
I watched this with Geraldine. Yeah.
I watched this with my wife in the past, not this time, but I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Geraldine hadn't seen
Clearly,
it
this
before.
is my job for tomorrow then.
Yeah. Geraldine hated it.
Did she?
Ah,
She thought it was incredibly misogynistic. I'm only glad I didn't show her the fucking sequel, because that is like that just goes off fucking nasty. But anyway, we're gonna get to that in a minute. But yeah, I thought I would just mention that, you know, us being blokes of the world and blokes dyed in the wool on, you know, on Eastern sex exploitation and violent films of the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Yeah. It's an interesting point. I think it's an interesting point to bring up that Geraldine found this film pretty
I'm not surprised.
misogynistic. Yeah, no, I get it. I completely understand the beats. I mean, personally, I'm happy to view it as a product of its time. And I'm sure this wouldn't be made these days. And it's
Or maybe just a product of Wong Jing.
Well, it's not just Wong Jing, though, is it? You know.
Right. Yes. Category 3 was a thing.
Again, it was the Category 3 frenzy, wasn't it? You know. But
This
I
is
thought
very
I would
much-
mention.
This is very much the Wong Jing flavour of it, though. It has to be said.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. And I think it actually. I never thought I'd say this ever. I think the Wong Jing flavour is what elevates it.
It's just here. Yeah.
But it is, though.
No, it's definitely a high one. Like, if you were to go through the one, and to be fair, to put it in proper context, I mean, Wong Jing was he like a one-man industry, massively important in all sorts of ways, and kind of kept the fucking industry afloat, or one of the people who did for a long time. So all that. But then you specifically go through the filmography. I mean, there's just some fucking. I mean, there's stuff that's more offensive than this, right? Like,
oh, of course.
But here's the thing, right? Because this is a period piece, not one AIDS joke, which is something you would have got in if this was modern day, there'd have been at least one hilarious AIDS joke.
Yeah.
And probably something quite racist in there as well. So as things go, this is Class C.
Actually, to be fair, yeah.
However, very good Wong Jing. Yeah.
However, it's worth a mention because we're all blokes watching.
Agreed.
Let's put it this way: don't program it next time. Next time you're programming for the tribute to Andrea Dworkin festival.
Yes.
Don't program Chinese torture chamber story.
No. Catherine McKinnon is not going to approve. But it has given me the idea, though. I was thinking, so is it time for us to make our version of 12 Angry Men called 12 Horny Men?
Mm-hmm. So how does it play out?
It'll be a bukkake, I assume.
Right. So what do we disagree? So let's follow this through now. Now that you've
No. I'm quite happy to close this back down again.
What you're saying, Nick, is you're really disappointed there were not enough cum shots.
Yes.
And to be fair, there weren't numerically, but there was one
No.
that made up for quite a lot of
Yes, volume-wise.
real Rocco Siffredi kind of.
Oh, I would go so far as to say Peter North.
Yes, that's who I meant. That's who I meant.
Okay.
So hang on. So there's one person on trial, and
Just in case this wasn't blokey enough. Now we're
and
naming
everyone
stars.
apart from Henry Fonda, everyone else is saying, "Yeah, no, we shouldn't jerk off on that person." And Henry Fonda's like, "No, look, listen to me." And one by one, he
That's my plan. Yeah.
While
I think
protein pills.
I think you're both being naive. I think you'll find that someone's probably already done that.
It is, yes.
I think that was probably done in the mid-70s at the latest. I think we're 40 years behind the curve on that, gents.
Time for a remake.
A reboot, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so is it time to talk about Blood Brothers Redux?
Well, Need a piss.
Okay, not a bad idea. I'm gonna
before we go very, very quickly, we're saying same year, Bosco Lam, Wong Jing, and the same screenwriters made another interesting film, The Underground Bunker, with one of his one of his post Dr. Lam psycho roles, which is entertaining.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I hadn't clocked that it was the same team, more or less.
Good old Bosco.
Bosco. Is that the man out of Dukes of Hazzard, or am I imagining that?
That's Boss Hogg.
Boss Hogg.
But yeah, it would fit, right, to have a Bosco in.
I wish I hadn't said that while we were recording. I wish that was off air.
Are you going to get thrown out of the Dukes of Hazzard fan
club? I am going to have to hand back my Daisy Duke denim shorts.
Oh, that is a shame because they do suit you.
They are,
especially when you got one ball hanging out. That's the.
Oh no! The bridge is down again every fucking week.
Yeehaw!
Well, they're in a doozy of a pickle of a sandwich this time. What are them Duke boys gonna do?
Jump over the fucking bridge. That's what they do every week.
Yeah.
Right,
well, I'm gonna have a piss now.
Yeah, go and do it.
Right. Yeah, if you can find a rat, Darren, to really give it to, see if you can,
Yeah. Yeah, I've got it. It's
already in the toilet, is it?
It's tied up in a dream catcher.
Oh, excellent.
In the toilet as we speak. Later on, I'm going to cut little chunks off it.
I've got a Polaroid of Yvonne Hung's taped across the back.
Yeah, it works. Yeah. So this is a gear shift for a start.
Yes,
because this has taken the boing boing boing, ha ha ha, funny cum shots, and flipped it into a real Category 3 kind of bit of nastiness, really.
Yeah, in some ways it's a more it's almost just a straight remake of Blood Brothers with everything ramped right up to the top, but without any of the comedy asides or silliness.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I think that when you there's a lot of tit squeezing in this, right? So something I noticed, right? There are a lot of sex scenes, as you would expect of something of this.
I know there's a lot of sex scenes. There are sex scenes that go on for a really long time.
That's true.
That they cut away from and cut back to, and you're like, oh, they're still having sex?
Yeah. And it's all tit squeezing, right? And in the right context, I am 100% on board with that, right?
Yeah, I'm fairly certain most ladies would not be as the primary.
No.
As I said, the target audience, are they?
In the right context, as I said.
Everyone likes a glass of 100% freshly squeezed tit juice for breakfast.
and they had a surplus on this film. I can tell you, they
Yeah.
had to just pour it in the drain.
Yeah.
There's so much thick juice.
Yeah.
Right?
I believe it became an international, it was Butter Mountain, and they had
Exactly.
juice the lake.
So yeah, so there's nothing about this film that's not gratuitous.
No.
Right? But it's so much more fucking cynical and quite a lot nastier than the previous film.
And you say all that, right? And that
Yes.
sounds, and you're right, everything you said, and
Yeah.
that sounds like that should be awesome. Yet,
Yeah,
this
it's
is
not.
a major
Yeah.
step down from the previous film, isn't it?
It really is, and I ascribe that to it's just cynicism, you know. It's how can we because I think that this film, more than the previous film, although there's still a lot of inspiration taken from Japan, right? But this film, I think, has seen some Japanese films of the period, you know, maybe not guinea pig, but, you know, on that side of it, and decided, yeah, we're just gonna do gratuitous sex and violence instead of kind of comedy sex and violence, which is kind of what balanced the first film.
It's interesting as well that it's not, again, especially, I mean, in general, but also throwing in, you know, Wong Jing, who was very much about bang, 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 like doing flavor of week things. It's interesting to note that it took 4 years for the sequel to come out. So I think you're quite right. It is, it doesn't strike me as something, you know, it seems like something made a little bit out of desperation, like something else isn't hitting or something, or what was a big hit for us before? Oh, that Chinese torture chamber was. Why don't we bang a sequel out to that? Because there's none of the same people apart from Jing's production company.
Yeah, director's different.
Only Wong Jing, who obviously kind of owned the property. So I don't know. I was trying to put this into the context, like what was going on, and wondering if Wong Jing was like just desperate for a hit, and you know, what else was he doing around this? Was there suddenly a spate of sequels that he put out to things that were hits? You know, years earlier, but yes, cynical is definitely the word. What else has he produced in '98? You've got fuck a lot. Yeah, like well, Sex and Zen 3, right? But they had Sex and Zen 2 in the interim, so that. But yeah, you got.
But the Sex and Zen films are kind of fluff anyway. They're just
but it's interesting.
Sex and Zen films are kind of just titillation, really, aren't they?
The first Raped by an Angel sequel comes out.
Oh, okay.
This year. Well, right. So yeah, I know it's difficult. I mean, the Wong Jing filmography is a thing unto it. We could do a in Wong Jing scope.
Yeah.
Quite easy.
We're not gonna do
that. No, please.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I'll do it with other people.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, it's for me, this is just kind of it's this ill will behind this. Do you know what I mean?
Weird.
It's like
at the same point, it shows weird fidelity, almost more than The Adulteress, to the source. Right, like in some ways it is a really great remake, in that the original one doesn't have much comedy in it, you know, and this one has not much comedy in it, and as I said, funnily enough, I found, like, for example, the kind of the dopey brother, the one who ends up having his dick beaten so badly that he can't get an erection anymore.
Yang Shung. Yeah, we should mention. So standing in for T-Long is Mark Cheng. For
how can you say that?
David Floater Chang is Oscar Lam.
Although is also Yolinda Lam, or sorry, Yolinda Yam, because Lotus plays the revenge part of his role.
Yeah, they've fudged, or they've missed. I don't want to use the word fudge again twice in one. It's a different type of fudge, but Yeah, they've
Yeah.
mixed that up a bit, haven't they? The female
Yeah.
characters.
That's actually the only thing I liked about the film.
It kind of makes sense to do that, doesn't it? Actually.
Yeah. No, it works narratively. And I quite like the idea of her having this kind of noble death at the end as well. You know, I quite like the idea of her enduring all this torture, you know, which is kind of on a level with martyrs. You know, it's martyrs.
There's quite a lot of gore in here, it has to be said.
Yeah.
Especially as it
But
goes
it's funny,
along.
it takes a while to get going into the exploitation. That's the other thing that's kind of funny, is that they really, I felt that they really, like, cynicism aside, that there was an actual attempt made in the first 20-30 minutes to set up the relationship. So that we gave a shit later on when they come apart.
And
in some ways,
all sorts of things.
I felt that the emotional stakes were actually better handled in this complete trashy piece of shit than they are in Blood Brothers. I, in some ways, cared more about the sad sack brothers and how their lives come apart because they've trusted the wrong guy. When it gets really heavy, when they're in jail and one guy's mouth is sewed shut after his tongue's being pulled out and his friend has to break his neck, I was genuinely slightly moved, and I didn't expect to be, and more so than I was when watching Blood Brothers.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I felt the same actually. Yeah.
Because considering how much just pumping is going on, it does seem it does seem to lean more heavily towards like the gore. I mean, I don't think it saves the film or anything, but if you're looking for gore, the gore works for the gorehound much better than the sex would work for someone looking for. I mean, there's nothing remotely approaching Yvonne Long Hung being paddled in terms of sexiness in this film, like nothing. And that's not, I think you can say, I know it's all subjective, but I think objectively you could say there's nothing that's even like framed in that way to be an erotic little frisson set piece, right? It is just it's something kind of, there's nothing at all sexy or seductive about it, but the gore, if you like gore, it's pretty good gore, right? So it's kind of interesting who was kind of leading the charge on this one, and like what was the conflict between whoever, the effects guy, the director, or the like, you know, they were getting their way, or you know, it's kind of, because I don't know much about Dick Cho, the director, and he did what else did he do? I don't think anything that I've seen.
I haven't seen anything he's done.
And it all seems a bit hacky random as well, as opposed to him having a strong directorial voice. So
but it's also like, you know, I can't get Japan out of my head, right? I can't get the more kind of, I guess you could say, like the mid level of the extreme Japanese gore that's kicking around in the early mid-90s.
I think what
this is the late 90s.
I think maybe what you might be correct me if I'm wrong, but I know a favorite of yours, this is better at it than this film. Are you thinking along the lines of that film, Female Market?
Good point. Yes, I haven't put my finger on that.
Nastiness. We were talking about that the other day.
Okay. No, but there is, and that's generally not present in Hong Kong films.
No, you're right. It doesn't
the same period.
Not quite that nasty, or if it is, it's nasty for like a minute or two, and then someone's having a custard pie, or
exactly.
Them, or Charlie Cho's like, oh, you know,
exactly. But there's but with this, there's no sort of valve that's
you're right.
Lets the steam off.
I know exactly what you mean. It's got that grim kind of thing that you consistent grimness you would expect from a Japanese film more than a Hong Kong.
And yet the tone is still fucked up in that there's lots of comedy and deliberate titillation, and there's still kind of a light-hearted kind of vibe on the surface of this film as well. So it's kind of, so it's not, you know, if this was just about torture and degradation and nastiness, I could completely buy into that, just like I buy into, you know, films of, well, not the same period, but a slightly earlier period from Japan.
Right.
You know, because that's an assault on the senses, and that's, you know, that's the point of these films, you know.
Yeah.
But this isn't even an assault on the senses, because it's such a mixed bag.
And in a way, it doesn't quite go, like you said, if you're going to do that, then go all the way, right? It doesn't quite all the way. So yeah, it is an odd, it's actually a much more interesting film to consider and talk about and think about, like, what the fuck were they thinking, than it is to watch, it has to be said. Especially coming right off the back of how much rollicking family entertainment the first one was in comparison. It's, you know, I mean, you could show Christmas, China's taught Christmas Day film, no problem. But this... No.
Maybe not to Darren's wife, though, apparently.
Well, she's seen it now. She's all right. She's over.
Oh, okay, So they make it a yearly tradition, Darren.
Yeah. Oh, she'll love that. Yeah.
After
St.
5
Stephen's
or 6
Day.
watches, she'll get into it.
Yeah, but it's like going from, I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's like going from, you know, carry on camping straight into zombie flesh eaters. You know, it's like
I agree. It is like it's fairly relentlessly grim, and without any of that comedy to leaven. As I said, like, in some ways it was like they took the brief of like, we are gonna remake Blood Brothers. We're just going to turn everything up to 11.
I'm imagining an alternative universe here where zombie Barbara Windsor is doing her exercises and her tits actually fly off and hit Kenneth Williams in the face.
Yeah, well, except her tits have already been cut off in some sort of web with the netting stretched across her and put on an altar. At the end of this film.
Yeah. Pretty good tits on an altar scene, as those things go.
Yeah. No.
I don't think I've seen many others, but sure.
No, but I mean, if it was just the nastiness, I could buy into it. But it's just this fucking jarring mixture.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Because it's not 100% serious, is it?
You can't put it on, like, you couldn't put it on a list of films for, you know, people who are looking for extreme cinema along the lines of Guinea Pig and stuff like that. And you couldn't put it on that list of, here's a slight entryway, fun for all the family kind of knockabout Hong Kong kind of along those lines of the original, or like Sex and Zen is another good example. It's like a real crowd pleaser, right? But it's not for hardcore looking for real nastiness. So it has no utility. It has no utility.
No. And there's that scene that I can't get out of my head as well. There's that scene in the middle where, or it might even be towards the start, where what's his name? Marson Lee, so the main baddie in the thing. He's having
Mark Cheng, sorry.
Mark Cheng.
Yeah.
So he's he's kind of got a concubine or a prostitute in with him, and he decides to get nasty with the prostitute.
Yeah, that flashback.
And it's the flashback. Just, I mean, I'm all for it for dramatic purposes, right? I'm all for it if it's really serious, right? And you can make it work. But echoing the kind of movements of the body while a woman is being thrust into with not explicit flashback of a child being raped in the same way, that's like,
I assume it's supposed to be. Is that supposed to be our main? Or
so that's
Mark Chen? So that explains why he's so
that's
fucked
him.
up.
Yeah, so that explains. And in any other in another better made film, that would probably really work as some sort of third reel, start of the third reel revelation, but in this, it's kind of,
no, that it does
it's kind
feel
of, but it's
very
kind, yeah, but it's kind of,
cynical.
yeah, but because it's throwaway.
Yeah.
Because
Again, once again,
because they take that, they throw it away, and then they do something else with tits.
Once again, if you're programming a little coffee and cake get together for your, incest survivor group, maybe not Chinese torture chamber story 2.
No,
Yeah.
and I missaw the violator as Anthony Wong for a second. I was like, hang on, is that? But no,
no.
But it seems the kind of thing he might have been doing.
Yeah. But that's the thing as well. But that's the thing as well, isn't it? It's like you would normally include a scene like that in a film to provide some sort of context or understanding or redemption of a character, right? But that scene serves no purpose in the plot whatsoever, other than to tell you, yeah, he's a nasty piece of work because he got abused as a child, and then he cut the. And this is the complicated thing as well, because and then after he was abused as a child, he got a knife and cut his abuser's dick off. And how is that meant to make the audience feel? Is that meant to make the audience put the audience
sympathetic?
Or and this is a completely unsympathetic character.
Yeah.
So this is essentially a cartoon villain. This is like
But again, to reiterate, everything you've said again is right, but that wouldn't necessarily be problematic if it was just done really fucking well.
Exactly. Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah.
If it was just an amoral thrill ride, then fair enough. But like, crank it up a bit, do it properly.
Yeah.
Did anyone else notice how much? Is it Wai Kin Lam, who plays one of the three, looks like Tommy Wiseau once his hair comes out?
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
He did.
Wow.
Yes, there was that bit when he walked into the torture chamber and went, "Hey, Mark!"
You're tearing me apart. No, that's what she says at the end, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
As a little aside here, we've talked about it before, Nick, a little bit, but Darren, did you have a similar thing with The Room that I had, which was, because we've been long-term connoisseurs of the differently abled cinema, shall we say, for a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When The Room came along, and it was the hipster, so bad it's good thing, I didn't rush out and see it because I was very much of the opinion, I've seen Sting of Death. I've been at this for years. I've seen hell it came. And then finally actually getting to see it, I was like, all right, no, fair play. That was. Did you have a similar trajectory or?
No, I think I went to one of the first UK screenings of it, if not the first.
Nice.
Yeah, it was and I can't recommend this enough.
Prince Charles.
No. But I saw it in the Prince Charles as well.
Oh, okay.
But before that, I saw it at the Duke Mitchell Film Club.
Ah, wow.
In probably 2000.
Well, that makes sense then. You would have had context. You would have trusted them to show.
Yeah. They were a very good. Where's Evrim? I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. He used to curate it all, and he was very, very, very good at curating a film evening. Right. And that's the same place I saw what's it called? Deviation, the Irish kung fu film.
Oh, Fatal Deviation, yes.
How could you forget that title, Darren? Because it's
Fatal Deviation.
Yeah.
Fatal Deviation.
Yes. But I think I was one of the earlier people in the UK to have seen that. So I didn't
again.
So I saw it cold. So I saw The Room cold.
Right.
Nice.
Without any hype before I'd seen it. So
that's good.
And I enjoyed it, but
yeah,
I haven't watched it. Well, I watched it. I went to the Prince Charles and threw some forks at the screen.
Right.
And I haven't seen it since. So I haven't seen it for like 15 years or something.
But let it be a lesson because you can sometimes get a little bit and because you get bitten too many times. I think that's the thing is if you've been watching fucked up films for a long time and everyone's losing and so many times something new comes along and you're invariably the old git in the room. Like I've seen this.
Yeah.
I've seen this. Like this isn't. I'm not shocked by this. I'm not surprised. But
Yeah.
every now and again, these youngsters, these young whippersnappers are right.
Yeah. No, yeah, the room is. And actually, I thought that I can't remember who directed it, but they made a film of Tommy Wiseau, didn't they, with James Franco?
Yes.
Franco, yeah, it was him who directed
Yes, Franco, yeah.
Oh, it was James. Yeah, that was all right. That was quite fun.
That was quite good. The Disaster Artist, yeah.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah, I quite enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was even good despite having Seth Rogen in it, which is quite the feat.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. And I do like James Franco. Against all the odds, I like James Franco.
Yeah, I can't decide.
Yeah, I could go either way as well.
Decide. Like sometimes he'll pull something that he'll do that. Or The Deuce, I really enjoyed as well, where he played.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. Yeah.
Twins, and he pulls it off. To be fair, he pulls it off like you are never confused as to which one he is, and it's all down to his performances. It's very, very, very good. But then I don't know. Obviously, you have the same slight suspicions. Oh, plus he makes films in this century, so you're not having any.
Oh, yes, yeah, that's difficult for me for sure.
Speaking of which, we've got one more Blood Brothers.
We do.
Yes. Why don't you tell us all about the Warlords, Nick? We're going to talk about
the Warlord, surely.
No, the Warlord.
Warlords. Oh, I've written it down wrong. Sorry.
You got the Warlord. He got Warlords.
No one can get the title of this right,
apart from me. The Warlords. We're going to force you to talk about a film made in the past.
Now that you've said Warlords so many times, it sounds weird.
Is it? It reminds me, actually, when I was a kid, for some reason, my brother-in-law probably remembers this. For some reason, I was reading the Punisher comic. And I don't know why, but for some reason, I was like, the Punisher. For some reason, and I would say the Punisher over and over and over again for minutes on end. And it got to sound really weird. And it's like a weird, obsessive, compulsive.
That's what was going on in my head a minute ago when you were saying the Warlords.
Like you almost forget what it means.
It becomes a sound rather than
Yeah. And then you don't know if you're saying it right or not.
A Punisher, the Punisher.
And that stays with you forever.
Yeah.
I'm realizing actually IMDb has two directors listed. It has Peter Ho-sun Chan and also Y-Man Yip or Yip Y-Man.
Yeah, co-director.
But Peter Chan,
I didn't clock that. Yeah.
Peter Chan is the one that seems to show up in most places. Starring Jet Li, Andy Lau, and Takeshi Kaneshiro, who Clive's going to talk about in a minute. I think it sounded like. No, he's not. So this is a remake, although the director claims that it's not, but it is a remake of Blood Brothers.
Yes, there's like not much debate about that, really.
Well, I'm gonna come down on the side of the director, actually.
Okay, all right.
So
there is a lot
on the side of wrong, but
there is a lot. No, I mean there is a lot of dramatic incident in the film that isn't in the Blood Brothers. There's a lot more focus on the campaigns and the war, and the relationship going sour is not really just because of a woman. In fact, she's almost like ancillary to the whole business. It's got much more to do with conflicting codes of ethics and behavior, right? And it does have an ending where I was going to say this when we talked about the Blood Brothers and forgot to. One of the things I like about the Blood Brothers is at the very end when David Chang shows up to deal with T Lung.
Did it look all grey and was it raining in the mud?
Not in the Blood Brothers, no. It's very sunny.
Oh no, that's because it was made in the 70s.
Yes, it's very sunny, it's very bright. But one thing about it is
we should have set off an alarm there. Satire. Didn't quite land the way it was supposed to.
So
You win some, you lose some.
So-
Swings and roundabouts.
at the end of Blood Brothers, there is virtually no dialogue between brother number one and brother number two, or whatever the hell they are, right? Which I thought was cool, because I was like, this in a Hollywood movie, this is where they would totally over-egg it. This is where David Chang would have been like, you betrayed our trust, you betrayed our the agreement we made, you killed our brother, you cheated, like it would have been a lot of like, and instead it's just, there's no dialogue. It's just right away he jumps down off that platform and it's ass kicking all the way. And I thought that was cool. And then when this film ended, I was like, oh shit, they are going to go the Hollywood route. There's going to be a lot of dialogue, but they very specifically went one Hollywood route, which would be The Princess Bride, where basically that character just repeats, my name is Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die, over and over again.
I'd give it more credit than that, actually. I actually quite like that bit. Yeah.
I think it
There's no Wallace Shawn in here going, inconceivable.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I was dubious, and then I was like, no, that really works. Just repeating the line of like, our agreement was this, over and over again, and it, you do see Jet Li's version of T Long get pretty spooked by
quite good in this. Jet Li's
very good in this. Yeah.
I say, and it's funny, as I was thinking about T Long and his choice to like, okay, I'm going to play against type. I'm going to play an asshole. How often did Jet Li play?
Well, it's interesting. Do you remember when we were talking the fucking, what was it, the warrior and the sorceress pirate of dragon?
Yeah.
That film. And he wasn't being an asshole, but we did point out, we did say then that we quite liked kind of grumpy Jet Li, or heroic Jet Li, or Jet Li more in Harrison Ford mode than Tom Cruise.
Yes.
I think this is a good example. But before we speak any further, I'm afraid I'm going to have to blow Darren's little mind here. You probably less so, Nick, I would imagine. Again, this is something I've stumbled across, I never thought about, and I think we both haven't seen this film for such a long time that we wouldn't have put two and two together. And again, this may not be guaranteed, but it seems as if some comments on the Hong Kong Movie Database have Blade of Fury as another riff on Blood Brothers.
No, that's not right, because hang on.
Well, I know it's a different time period, right? Because it's not the time.
No. Blade of Fury is a remake of Iron Bodyguard. It's a completely different story.
Well, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but because I haven't seen it for ages. But when was the last time you saw Blade of Fury?
4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, so you have a fairly.
But I remember watching Iron Bodyguard for the first time fairly recently, in the last 7 or 8 years, and realizing, oh fuck, that's Blade of Fury.
Oh, okay.
And it's a completely different story. It's about the bodyguard that the just guards his poet, his poet sort of academic revolutionary hero, to the point where he gets tortured and killed. It's nothing like Blood Brothers. There's
no kind of love triangle in the middle.
No, not in Blade of Fury. No.
Okay.
Blade of Fury. If you remember, Blade of Fury is all about Cynthia Khan and T Lung.
Yes. This is interesting. At least 2 people mention it. If it was just one person, I think it was someone.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people have. So I'm not quite sure now what to do with that information.
It may be based in the same battle, the same
it's late era. Isn't it like early 20th century is Blade of Fury, if I'm correctly?
No, I don't think so. No, it's not. No, I think it's late 1800s, I would have thought. Could be wrong. I could be wrong on that.
Well, here's a thought. doing a bit of behind the scenes in front of the scenes. Shall we see if we can untangle this by actually watching these films?
Yeah.
So you've
Yep.
mentioned Iron Bodyguard
Yeah.
and Blade of Fury, and then
Yeah.
also, wait, here we go. This will be clever. How about not in ShawScope, Blade of Fury and Jungle Heat? Only just
Yep.
because we mentioned them.
Yep, sure.
Yeah. Fuck it. Yeah.
But then, in order to get our story said and see if Darren's right or not, we should probably watch Iron Bodyguard first.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
up for that.
Jump ahead in the chronology, and we'll
Yeah.
double bill Iron Bodyguard with something.
Yeah. I
There
mean,
was also,
because
there was also the question about that oath of whatever it is that's supposed to be
Oh yes, yes,
a
yes.
previous version of, like, if so, yeah, they were claiming that Blood Brothers was a remake of that, whatever it was I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. So rather than just kind of forget about it, or let's make sure. Let's get our ducks in a row, and we'll
Yep.
do it.
Oath of
Yeah.
Death. Yeah, Oath
There
of
we go.
Death.
So we'll do
Okay.
Oath of Death, Iron Bodyguard, and
Yeah.
Blade of Fury Jungle Heat.
yeah, cool. I have been looking. I've been trying to find an opportunity to watch Blade of Fury again for so fucking long. So yeah, I'm up
Yeah.
for that.
Perfect.
Me too, actually.
And-
Blade of Fury and another one I haven't seen for the longest time, Burning Paradise.
I just bought the new Blu-ray of Burning
We'll have to
Paradise.
shoehorn that in at some point.
Well, I think we can probably do that in 65 because it's the burning of the Red Lotus Temple.
That's right. That's right. Anyway,
So we can do that in a few months. Yeah.
back to the Warlords.
Back to Warlords. Yes.
Yeah.
The
so
Warlords, you motherfucking.
the Warlords. So yeah, so Jet Li basically plays our Qilong in this one. He is a military figure. He's on the movie opens with this massive battlefield littered with thousands of dead bodies, and he's faked his own death in order to escape being murdered. He's all overcome with guilt and feels really shitty. He wanders to a barn somewhere where he seems to meet the wife character that inevitably is in Blood Brothers, right?
He meets Chen Quan Tai's wife.
Yes, yeah. So Andy Lau, in this case, plays that part. And
the Jet Li is my third favorite jet after Jet Jaguar and Jet from Gladiators.
all right.
He's my third favorite jet.
Yes, that's what I meant. What did I say?
Yeah.
You said. So, oh, sorry. Four. I meant fourth.
Okay.
Oh,
it's
you're
not
okay.
Atlas again.
Yeah.
My in the middle there is Jet Sex.
Jet Sex. Who's that then?
Jet Sex is not a person. It's a film.
Ah,
Oh, well,
It's-
that's cheating.
Well, I just wanted
can't
to
say
get.
my fourth favorite person and here's a film.
Well, it might have been the man. It might.
But I can
because
tell.
it's-
I can tell you did that for a reason. You want to talk about Jet Sex, so go ahead. What's?
I've never heard of Jet Sex.
I don't think I've seen Jet
So
Sex.
I don't think anyone's heard of Jet Sex. But anyway, everyone has a first hardcore porn film
Mm-hmm.
they
Yes,
see,
yeah.
right?
Dirty Blondes for me, Clive.
Yeah.
Curse of the Crooked Cat House.
Okay.
Jet Sex.
Okay.
Jet Sex, I believe, is German,
Oh,
and yeah.
is it
Mhm.
2 words or 1 word?
Two, I think.
All right, I'm trying to look it up here.
I'm interested to know, how did you come by this VHS tape? Because everyone has a friend at school or
Yeah.
somebody's dad or whatever, that kind of like.
My sister's not going to like this, but she'd never see it anyway.
Okay.
My 15-year-old sister used to go out with older boys of 18 and 19 years old,
Mm-hmm.
i.e. paedophiles. And one of them brought this VHS tape around to her house and left it there, and I watched it.
Okay,
Glad-
the nearest I can find here is a West German film called Unziehe Genilen de Liebe, aka Easy Come, Easy Go. Is this the Jet Sex of what you speak? It's 1986. Does that sound
Yeah,
about
86 could be. Yeah, I would have
76.
maybe put it a little bit late. 76.
Yeah.
No, I'd have put it 80s.
Oh, so this is a different.
Yeah. Well, in some, I'm basically looking for a forum to offload my trauma.
Well, here we go. Was the storyline con man and gigolo Harry Cord? This has got fuck all to do with Warlords. Con man,
wow, we're so far away from
Harry Corder
our remit here.
Decides he has to strike it big by finding a millionaire's daughter to marry so he can gather enough money to move to the Bahamas.
No.
Oh, okay. Then I can't.
No, it was just meat and gristle.
Right.
On
however,
a plane? Was there a plane involved? Like where is the jet coming from?
Don't know.
Okay.
All I remember from
German,
Jet Sex,
German language, was it?
It was German language, yeah.
It wasn't
all I remember from it wasn't in English, no.
Because me and Nick were talking about this. We want to track down
there's a specific tape that we both saw that has the most astounding dub job you have ever heard.
Ooh.
Yeah. Actually, you might have seen it, Darren. I might have lent it to you back in the day.
Oh, yeah, if you had it, I probably saw it. Yeah. In a certain period of time. Anyway, so we can get back on to Jet Li.
Yeah,
I want to tell you
your
about
fourth favourite Jet.
Yes.
Actually,
yeah. So anyway, Jet Sex did lots of unlubricated anal, and there was some blood.
Really?
And then at the end, yes, and then at the end of the film,
Jet Li was in it.
No, it was Jet Liang.
The poor man's Jet.
Yeah, it was Jet Li. I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
And
oh God.
At the end, and then
in blood.
Yeah, and then at the end, and I think it was a gangbang. It might possibly have been a gangbang film. Don't quite remember. At the end, the very pretty blonde lady who's getting gangbanged gets her head shaved.
Oh,
they shave her head on camera, and then they all come on her bald head.
I've seen this. I've seen this.
Of course you have.
At least I've seen that scene. The coming on the shaved head scene is infamous, I think. Yeah, what is that? I'm gonna have to find that now.
I know it as Jet Sex, and I remember it because it's the first hardcore I ever saw.
It might even have Ant Peg in it.
Oh, hang on. I can't tell you for sure. Yeah, it might have.
Because she did do things over there. Yeah.
Because it was all sorts of fucked up.
Yeah.
It sounds
I can't tell you for sure.
It sounds like an unlubricated introduction to pornography to me.
Well, that's exactly what it was, and that's why I mention it.
Because of there was some trauma involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So most of me, yeah. So it could have been fucking New Wave Hookers or I Love You Tracy or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, because they're not problematic at all.
No, thank God nobody listens to
to
any of the podcasts we do, but especially to Not in ShawScope.
In my defense, I was 15 at the time.
Well, so was Tracy Lords.
So I wasn't breaking the law.
So anyway,
carry on.
The Warlords.
Well, at least you got
send this to Ashley West. He'll know.
He might.
Just this segment.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
So the Warlords. Anyway, so Jet Li. So Jet Li.
It's not as good as Jet Sex, though, is it?
Has survived this
Is
massacre.
that going to be in the next Not in ShawScope?
Please no.
I'm writing it down anyway as a possibility.
So then he ends up hooking up with a bunch of bandits again. They kind of storm through town. He fights one. They're like, "Oh, you're tough," just as T-Long was tough. And so yeah, they kind of joins the bandits, and that's when he meets Andy Lau, who's sporting a really impressive beard in this. And actually, I should before I forget, because I won't remember to say this later on. It's interesting because later in the film, there's this whole part where there's an opera version of them meeting, and I mistook it. I was like, oh, are they doing Romance of the Three Kingdoms? Is this the part where like?
Yeah, no, that's them though, isn't it?
Them, but it is them. Yeah, it is But I realized, well, is this the Rosetta Stone? Is Romance of the Three Kingdoms and those three bros making the bro code together? Is that where Blood Brothers it comes from in some way? It's very similar. This idea of like pledging allegiance for life, and we were born to separate mothers, but we are brothers.
It is. I mean, that's the text, I'm sure, but I'm guessing it's one of those things. I mean, there's probably a whole shitload of
it's permeated everywhere.
Let's steal the deal kind of things, right? I have to admit, I'm getting quite bored of talking about Warlords now. Because
we haven't talked about it at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, all right, here we go. I'll throw the gauntlet down. Does either one of you have anything more to say than this Warlords? Oh, it's better than I thought it would be. That's not bad. But it's not that good. Is that more or less where we're going with this? Because I thought it was fine. Better than most. It wasn't as annoyingly CGI heavy as I expected.
No, that was a big takeaway for me.
In a mad rush to watch it again.
No, but there was some great drumming. I thought the soundtrack was surprisingly decent. There wasn't any synthy kind of stuff. It was all like very much It reminded me a bit of 300 in parts, although slightly less CGI mad and silly. I guess I would agree with you, Clive. That's pretty much it. It's I
didn't think we need to belabor the point because we're wasting.
It's a decent remake.
We could be talking about jet sex and things like that.
Okay, so every time I watch a film for any podcast I'm on, I always write my sort of notes like this. So there's always notes like that, and then right at the end, I always put a little box with a few thoughts in, right? And this is my little box.
Right.
It's very little, so you have to be gentle.
Yes.
So lubrication is important.
It's unlubricated as well.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is not jet sex.
No.
So my little box at the end of the Warlords says, "Why is it grey?" Right?
Have you been to a doctor?
Yeah. Apparently, it's pre-gangrenous.
Right.
Jet Li is podgy.
Yes. Yeah.
But it doesn't affect his performance.
But no, but like
very
a
good
bull,
performance.
Like particularly at the end when he's beating the shit out of Takeshi.
Yeah, he's like a fucking
who I thought
unit,
Clive was going to talk about as a Renaissance man, but he's not apparently going to. But yeah, that last scene where Jet Li's punching the shit and breaking his legs, I was like, "Fuck, he's scary. He's a scary bull of a man."
He's like a fucking indestructible or like an immovable object, isn't he? Yeah. My next point is Andy Lau is class.
Yes,
as always.
Yes.
Very, very classy.
He's excellent.
Yeah.
He's one of those few like really big, huge, massive stars who I don't have any problem being a huge, massive star. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people are like, why that person? But Andy Lau, I'm like, no, fair play. I don't mind that everyone thinks he's awesome and all women fancy him.
Yeah. I'm on team Lau. Yeah, for sure.
Me too.
Yeah. Next point. Some good emotional beats.
Yes.
Yeah.
A few moments got me pretty misty-eyed, I have to say.
Yeah. We talk about
the massacre scene. I was surprised at how effective it was, and
massacre scene was good.
Yeah,
and also the pre-massacre scene.
Yes,
where you've got this kind of unrubble. So Takeshi Kaneshiro kind of steals into the camp, doesn't he? And then he confronts this because they're besieging a town, and he confronts like the governor or the general of the town.
Yeah.
And they have this kind of to and fro, and then they have a little bit of a fight, and then the general essentially allows himself to be killed by Takeshi Kaneshiro.
I know it's Andy Lau, I think.
Yeah, it does build up.
Oh, sorry, it's Andy Lau. It's Andy Lau.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
It does build up some sicker fluid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he allows himself to be killed, and then
Yep.
all the soldiers surrender, but on the condition that they be set free. And then Jet Li basically orders the massacre of 4,000 troops. And Takeshi Kaneshiro is basically the one, because he's under Jet Li, has to give the order. That's a quandary. Good shit there.
It's powerful.
Yeah, and the final battle between Andy Lau and Jet Li is not a climactic Chang-Che dun 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 battle. It's kind of a okay, I've got to do what I've got to do, you've got to do what you've got to do.
Yeah.
Right.
We're both sad about it, we're just going to kick the shit out of each other. And that's kind of it.
I have 2 minutes, so wrap it up.
Okay. Yeah, very gory, still modern China shit.
Yeah, as far as this kind of thing goes, not bad.
Fine, it's good.
But
Yeah.
It's still not our jam, I would say.
No, but I would say for me, as somebody who really has struggled with some of this stuff, like some of this later, CGI heavy, that I enjoyed it says something, because I have had a hard time enjoying a lot of this stuff post 2005 that we've done.
That actually probably says a lot. That that Dick got on with it at all.
That I didn't hate.
A lot more than anything else. Anyway, I have to go and put out some more of that battery podcasting that I do.
Yeah. While simultaneously on a laptop at the side trying to work out what Jet Sex is.
Yeah, well, I've written it down. So yeah, no, that will be investigated. And next time on Not in ShawScope.
Yeah, really not in ShawScope.
Yeah.
Right. Until then, cheerio.
Toodle pip.
Bye.